What's going on, dudes and dudettes, out there in falling Wedge land? You may have noticed over the past few days that Bitcoin and, in general, the crypto market, outside of a few outlier altcoins, have entered a very short-term bearish pattern. Um, I imagine you've seen that going on. So what does that mean for AMP? We did the video a few days ago, probably about 2 or 3 days ago, where we talked about kind of where we saw Bitcoin going, this retrace that we were seeing, which felt, almost like despair level retracing of the total crypto market cap. And we talked a lot about Bitcoin, and generally what we were looking at was that as an indicator, because a lot of times alts kind of track with Bitcoin until either it enters a consolidation phase and alts rip, or Bitcoin launches upward on another upward leg and altcoins are lifted up along with it. And we didn't really talk too much about AMP, and I believe I said I wanted to see some more patterns forming before we talked about it. So here we are. Today is the 27th of February. A few days ago, we were trading a little bit higher here in this Fibonacci channel. A few positive things that I've seen before I start talking about some of these patterns that I've been painting here. Number one, you'll notice that at this Fibonacci level down here, around 2.1 cents or so, we got a strong back test of that fib level, and we got clear support built there. We had several candles line up very, very close to it. I'm over here on the 4-hourly right now. We can take a look at the daily as well and see that we had some wicks down there, but on the 4-hourly, you can really see that we certainly tested that support for a not insignificant amount of time on the time frame that we're looking at here. So that's very positive. We have support here at 2 cents. Again, like we talked about a couple days ago, think back a month, and realize 2 cents is humongous compared to where we were when we were trading in the sub-penny zone. So we have that going for us. Additionally, I've drawn some meme lines on here of a pattern that I think we may be shaping up to see here. So number one, you'll see this line that extends all the way out here. Kind of a trend line that we started building in early February that provided some pretty solid support down here. So we've got actually that extends further back into January. You'll see we bounce off that support, and we consolidated for a very long time, rose up, came back, tested that support, and then we got this huge launch off, and we're coming very close to that support. So that's one support line that we're looking at here. The other one that you'll notice that I've drawn on here, we have a moving average, 21 candle moving average is painted on here. We're trading a little bit under that. Let's take a look at the daily, see if we're under the 21. Yes, we are under the 21-day moving average. But the more interesting one that I'm starting to see shape up, I hope, is we've got this sort of falling wedge pattern getting painted here, which is generally should be a bit of a bullish sign here. You'll see that on the 4-hourly, let me adjust this a little bit. I drew that on the daily. We had a few candles close below it, kind of signaling it was testing that support, potentially breaking downwards. And then we immediately rejected that. Very close to immediately anyways, tested the top of the descending wedge that we're looking at. And right now we're kind of trading in the middle. So kind of what I'm targeting here, really, it does depend on what Bitcoin does. But over the next couple of days, I'm seeing that trend line that we can draw back to very late January. That is a strong support. Intersecting with this falling wedge that admittedly is a rather gradual wedge shape. But either way, you could also more so paint this as a bear flag if you wanted to incorporate these down back tests. But kind of like painting this as a descending wedge. So what I'm looking for here over the next, by sometime the 1st of March, my hope is that AMP is not going to respond very strongly to any further downward action in Bitcoin. I think there could be a little bit more downward action. Right now we are trading at 47.8, somewhere in that neighborhood, 48,000. I think there's a possibility we could backtest down to about 42,000 based on some trend lines that have very long-term support on the Bitcoin charts. But during this downtrend, honestly, compared to a lot of other altcoins, we have not retraced nearly as much as you might have expected as Bitcoin was dipping here in the past few days. So that's very positive for AMP. We're not tightly coupled with Bitcoin if we do see a downtrend. But if we decide to paint this as a falling wedge, we'll notice that we're seeing a decrease in the trading volume as well, which is textbook for a falling wedge that should hopefully break out to the upside. So over the next 2-ish days or so, my hope is we're going to see Bitcoin, trade sideways would probably be the best case for us. And in that case, if we could test this resistance line of the falling wedge, close several candles above it, and then break out, that is what I'm really hoping for. Alternatively, there is the possibility that we start back testing this support line that's a lot longer term. And that support line does eventually converge on the resistance line of the downward wedge here. So that makes me feel a little bit more bullish. We can find support here and use that as a springboard. However, if we fail to cement that trend line over the next couple days, and we do come down to the bottom of the wedge, we get that momentum of breaking the 2.1-ish Fibonacci retracement. And then if we come down here, I suspect we may have a breakdown to about the 1.4 cent range. So what I'm targeting is a back test of that ascending trend line that we have, followed by a breakout of the descending wedge. Pending that happening, if we take a look at the flag here that I've kind of drawn, is this, it's not following any sort of candle wicks. I just drew it kind of the start of where we began that huge upward momentum up to this descending wedge. If we paint that sort of flagpole, we're looking at about, let's call it 250% was the rise of the quote flagpole. If we were to say break out at the tip here and do a 250, that puts us way clearing up very high. I would not expect us to get up into the 7-cent range. I would instead expect us to get a very strong breakout, see a little bit of resistance around the 3.2 cent range of that Fibonacci, and then potentially start trading back up here in that 4-cent zone or so. And hopefully cement some support here at that psychological barrier and break that Fibonacci level at 4.3, and then start trading in this upper retracement level, or actually extension level of the long-term retracement from the launch of AMP. And if we start trading up here, up above the 3.2-ish range very consistently on the daily, and also manage to break that 4.3, then we start looking at this Fibonacci retracement is extended, it's gone. And we can start looking at some more long-term indicators. So that's what I'm looking for over the next few days or so. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update here, see where we're at on AMP, and this all is contingent on what Bitcoin and the alts do. If Bitcoin just takes a dump down to 42,000, I think is a solid support, but below that, if we got down to the 30s, I would not expect a very pretty picture. I'd expect us to start retracing to that 1.4, like I said. But if Bitcoin trades sideways and we start seeing the alts make a move to the upside, which I think is very possible, um, that's what I'm looking for. So that's about all I have for you today, guys. Have a good one.